What's up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys episode number 13 in my entire DVD and Blu-ray collection. This is a series where I walk you guys through my entire collection, show off everything that I have, and talk about it a little bit each DVD, each Blu-ray. Right now we're still continuing along with the DVDs, so let's hop right into it. Episode number 13, first up we have Her Name Was Torment by Dustin Mills. Now, Moods has talked up Dustin quite a bit over the past few years. He's really supported him. He's told me about him. He's told Jeremy about him. He's told all of you guys about him. If you've listened to our podcast, Moods has definitely reviewed enough of Dustin's films for anybody to be familiar with him who listens to us. And unfortunately, I have done a little bit of a disservice because I've still not watched one of them. I did buy one straight from Dustin's website, and I just haven't got around to checking it out yet, which is kind of a lazy excuse, I guess. But honestly, when I bought this, it was about a week before my house caught on fire, so it became, packed away and stored away. And then when I opened up all my DVDs and got them up on the shelf, I noticed it, but then I kind of forgot about it again. So really, this is kind of the first time where I'm really paying attention to it being in my collection, so I will check it out sooner rather than later. But some people have actually told me that Her Name Was Torment might not be the best Dustin Mills film to check out at first because it's very experimental, I guess. I hear that Dustin really has a wide range of the types of films that he likes to make. He really likes to experiment and try different things and do different films, which is really, really cool. So some people say that, this one might not represent his work the best, but I'm sure that I'll like it. I mean, I trust Moods' opinion pretty well, and even if I don't like it, which I probably will, I'll still, pick up a couple more and give them a shot too, because I have that much faith in, the opinion of Moods. So I'll check them out. Her Name Was Torment, I'll probably check out soon. After that, coming in next, we have High Tension, aka Switchblade Romance, which is the much better title. High Tension is a film that I love. It's a really, really well-made movie, very metaphorical symbolism, a lot of subtext to the film, just very brilliant. A lot of people either love this film or hate it, or love it and then say that one thing ruins it, and that is the twist. And, I would agree on most accounts. I mean, I would say that at face value, the twist can certainly ruin the movie. But I have defended this film, and I've defended the ending because there's one thing that happens in the film very, very early on that makes the ending okay. It makes it make sense. Maybe not the most sense in the world, but it definitely is acceptable. It explains things. It makes you look at the film in a different way, and people just completely miss it. So many people miss the it's a line of dialogue. It's an early scene in the film that explains why the twist makes sense. So many people miss it. I love to point it out, and sometimes people still don't quite get it. It's kind of a thinking outside the box type thing. I would love to kind of talk about it and, discuss it. We probably will. You kind of almost have to be spoilers. You have to do spoilers, though, because you can't talk about the twist ending without spoiling the twist. So maybe in the Fab 5 show that we have eventually planned on the podcast, where we discuss the, 5 popular French films that came out around the same time, High Tension being one of them, we'll get into it. And I can't wait, because this film is really good, and a lot of people do not get the twist at all. And sometimes they'll say, anytime I say that, people are like, no, you don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Like, it is impossible for things to work out once the twist is revealed. And I'm like, I understand why the twist would not make sense if you take it at face value. But once you know certain things that happen in the beginning of the film, it does make sense. And people are still like, yeah, dude, you're out of it. You don't know what you're talking about. But I really do. I swear. So High Tension, I can't wait to talk about it in depth. Okay, moving on. We have Hideous. This is a full moon film. This is actually open, but I still have the shrink wrap on it for some reason. I don't know. I've watched this a couple times. I actually watched it once with the commentary, which is weird because full moon films really don't carry commentaries. They usually have their video zone, and that's kind of it. They're not known for their special features. This one's kind of forgettable, but definitely one of the better from this era. I mean, it is an entertaining movie. If you like full moon films like Head of the Family, some of the, you know, not mainstream ones like Puppet Master and Demonic Toys, some of the like one tier under like The Creeps and stuff, this is one of the better ones from that tier. But it is still kind of forgettable. Crazy creature monster things. I think there's like a scientist or something. I can't really remember. Hideous is okay. After that, we have a Wesley Craven classic, and that is The Hills Have Eyes. This is a film that I just recently talked about in a Top 10 Tuesday video. I love The Hills Have Eyes. It really is a great movie. I'd actually seen the remake first, and then went back and checked out the original, and was, you know, really impressed, because I had kind of like dismissed it a little bit, and then, you know, upon rewatches I just became, you know, really into it. I kind of saw it in a new light and really kind of appreciated its rawness and grittiness, and it's a really, really good movie. I love the exploitation kind of feel to it, the 70s grindhouse feel, and the setting is just great. The characters, good. Michael Berryman, of course. Just raw and nasty. Love The Hills Have Eyes original. The sequel to The Hills Have Eyes original is quite awful, though. It's really awful in my opinion. I know some people like it, but I'm not a fan. After that, we have The Hills Have Eyes remake, which I'm a huge fan of. Ever since I first seen this, I was chilling with a few of my homies, Steve and Dean. I don't know why I name dropped them. You guys don't know them. And we, you know, rented this, and I was just like, I was kind of hesitant going in. You know, remakes, this was right around the time where they was getting like a really bad rap, and people were just talking mad shit on them. So I was expecting to hate this. I almost wanted to hate it before even seeing it. I was at a very impressionable time in my life. You know, I was young, very influenced by other people's opinions. And then, you know, I was just blown away. I was like, wow, this was so amazing. It was so like fast-paced and intense. The, you know, rape scenes and the father, you know, catching on fire and stuff. I love the characters. There's a really good arc from the you know, the boyfriend character, as he is kind of a little bit of a bitch going in, and by the end of it he's just been through so much that he's like this tough ass badass dude, and I love that arc of that character. Just a great freaking remake, honestly. It's one of my favorite remakes still to this day. It's a really, really good movie. The Hills Have Eyes remake is I think considered by many to be the best, or one of the best modern remakes in terms of, you know, this not including The Thing, The Blob, The Fly, but, you know, the ones that came like post Chainsaw. This is a solid one. I'm sure you guys know that. After that, we have The Hills Run Red. This is Babyface. This is okay. I've talked about this a couple times. It's not the best in the world, if I'm being honest, but it's a fun little slasher. I would say that it's, you know, along the lines of like Leslie Vernon and Laid to Rest and the Hatchet series, just slightly below all of those. But I love the concept, right? It's about the lost film, the film that was so bad, The Hills Run Red, and you know, it was banned and made people go insane, and it's, you know, hidden somewhere, and let's make a documentary trying to find it. Reminds me of, you know, John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns, or I think Midnight Movie kind of had a similar concept. There's actually an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark that showed this Nosferatu type film in the theater, and it was kind of this lost film. I love that concept. It works really well for horror fans. People who are really into the genre always dream of like this hidden masterpiece that, you know, is just out there and it's lost for all time, and, you know, tracking it down. You know, we seek rare stuff. We like rare stuff. We like things that we'd never thought we would see and stuff like that. So The Hills Run Red is pretty damn solid, but has flaws. You know, plot holes, stuff like that. After that, we have Hillside Cannibals. This one, I remember Steve actually reviewing, saying it was like one of the worst films he's ever seen, and I have not checked it out. I've had it in my collection for a long time. It's from the Asylum. I just never give it a shot simply because I know it's going to be terrible. It's sort of their version of The Hills Have Eyes, you know, cannibals, hills, hillside. Just sounds awful. I'm just afraid to check this one out, to be honest. Definitely not doing that anytime soon. After that, we have The Hitcher, and man, this is such a classic. I love The Hitcher. It's a great movie, and it's that cat and mouse nature to it, where we're following the character. It has very suspenseful scenes. It's almost like a thriller in a way too, and I love the setting. I love how we hop around. It really is the truest definition of road horror. It's the greatest. You know, if you ask what a road horror film is, this is probably the one that you would show to people. Like, this is what road horror is. This one definitely defines road horror, and great, you know, acting, casting, The Hitcher. It's such a, you know, odd story. It's creepy. It just works so well. I love The Hitcher, but I can't watch it all the time because for some reason it just feels like every time I watch it, I'm not as blown away by it. So I really just want to, you know, savor that first time experience of watching this late at night on TV, really. So The Hitcher is really, really something special. After that, we have The Hitcher remake, and yeah, it's not that good. It's okay. A lot of people don't like it. I think I rated it like a 5 out of 10. Doesn't do anything for me, really. I mean, I don't know. It's so much less of a film compared to the first one, and it doesn't add anything to it like most remakes. But in this case, I just find it to just not really work that well. There's tons of plot holes in it, and I don't know. I don't hate it, I guess. It's well enough made in terms of, you know, scale and technique, but the narrative and storytelling isn't the greatest. It starts out really good, honestly. I like the dynamic of the boyfriend-girlfriend combo riding, and, you know, when they pass up the hitchhiker and then they pick him up and it's an awkward situation. That was pretty good, but, you know, then it just goes over the top after that. So The Hitcher, not the biggest fan of the remake. After that, we have Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. This is a Hood film. I collect these. However, I've never watched this one. I own a lot of these Hood horrors, but I don't really watch them that often. I've seen a couple of them, and I want to collect them, but I just, for some reason, I don't watch them. You know, I will eventually. This is an anthology. I believe this was like originally supposed to be part of the 8 Films to Die For. I hear that there is some decent, or at least one decent story in this. I love the slipcover. You know, I got this $5 at FYE. I think that's worth it. I think, yeah, it's actually new too. So it had the slipcover, and I thought that was pretty cool, so I picked it up. And it's a Hood horror film. I'm trying to collect every one that I possibly can, but you know. Especially if it has Hood in the title, that's even better. Of course, the greatest Tales from the Hood. Nothing real will ever probably top that Hood horror film. But I will check out Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror eventually. Next up, we have another Hood horror, and that is Hood of the Living Dead. Welcome to Oakland. This one's probably pretty awful. It's a zombie Hood film. Most of these Hood films are pretty awful, but this one looks exceptionally awful. Well, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this one. I'll check it out because it's a Hood horror. After that, we have another Hood horror film, which actually isn't too bad. It has Ice-T in it, and that is Hood Rat, aka Tamara. This is essentially Willard in the Hood. It really is that. It's the same setup, the same style story. Only difference is it's in the hood, minor characters are changed, there's like this slumlord, and there's this dude who talks to rats and kind of controls rats, and, you know, they attack the people that have wronged him. It's should have been called Willard in the Hood. Seriously, that's what it is. It's kind of fun, actually. some bad CGI and stuff, but I didn't hate it. I think Matt actually likes this one too. Matt Cantor. Alright, moving on. We have Horde, or La Horde. This is the IFC Midnight French film. And this one I actually didn't like that much. I thought it was okay. Definitely, you know, pretty well made, but at the same time, I don't know, I didn't like the fast zombies. It felt overly stylized and there was too much action in it for me. I know a lot of people do like this film. I'm just not the biggest fan. Maybe I should give it another shot, but for now I kind of just am like, I'm probably, you know, not going to run out and check it out again. It's just, you know, not that interesting to me. But, you know, there are a lot of people who like this one, so I don't know. The ending's pretty awful too. After that, we have A Horrible Way to Die. This is a Adam Wingard film that I still haven't checked out yet. I like what I've seen from Adam Wingard, but, you know, I just haven't got around to checking this one out. But, you know, I think that I've heard pretty good things about this one. I think this is like one of the earlier films in his filmography, so definitely will check this one out pretty soon, but it's still going to sit on the shelf for a little while longer. After that, we have Horror Business. This is a documentary. I've reviewed this one before. Pretty solid, honestly. It's about a group of, not a group, but it follows the film careers, or, you know, the filmmaking of a couple different filmmakers and their process of making independent horror. There's some people in there who I like and root for, and then there's, you know, some people in there who I'm like, you're one of the reasons why horror has a bad rep and you probably shouldn't make films ever again. I know that sounds very mean and very serious, hardcore to say, but I just literally cannot stand the type of movies that some of these people make. But it was a good documentary. I definitely really enjoyed it. And that's Horror Business. I know, who am I to say you shouldn't make horror movies, but you know, whatever. After that, we have The Host. This is one that I've been meaning to check out. This is one that, you know, I've heard so many good things about, and it looks really hella fun. I've heard so many good things about it, I just still have not watched it. I don't know why. It's a monster movie. It's Japanese. It looks crazy and fun. And I just still have not seen it. I've seen it air on Sci-Fi and a bunch of different channels before. Like, I think Chiller had it on. Just never watched it. I'm going to watch this soon, I promise. Simply because it looks hella freaking fun. The Host. After that, we have Hostel. Hostel is one of my favorite films from that, you know, mid-2000s range. I loved this film when it came out. It was so hardcore. I thought it was so cool. All of my friends were talking about it, even people who didn't like horror. Kind of that Saw Hostel era was just a angry time in horror that I miss. I love. It was serious horror films back then. Now everything is kind of in that comedic tone lately, and I just miss a time where horror films were really, you know, dark and serious and dealt with, you know, some hardcore subject matter, and that is Hostel. I love this movie. I've always gave mad props to Eli Roth. I'm a huge fan. I actually like what he does. I know people say that he typically creates these frat boy type characters with this like frat boy mentality. I like those characters because they are real. Like, people do exist who are jackasses like that. And I think Roth does a good job at kind of like showcasing their absurdness. Hostel's good stuff, man. I love Hostel. After that, we have Hostel Part 2. I was a little bit disappointed when this one came out. I missed it in the theater, but then it hit DVD, and I picked it up day one, $22 at Walmart, unrated, director's cut. Took it home, watched it with my friend. He couldn't barely handle it. He kept having to leave the room and was like, oh my god. I was like, dude, it's not that bad. But, you know, it was pretty bad to, like, the mainstream core people. And, you know, I didn't like this one when I first seen it. I thought that it was just did not live up to the hype for me. It was a huge decline in just characters and, you know, how intense it was. I don't know. I just thought it was more of the same but not as good. And then I watched it years later, and it is a really solid movie as well. It just was overhyped when I first seen it. And I would love to really discuss these films in a director's spotlight or something, because I haven't really had a lot of chances to talk critically on these films, and it's actually been a lot of years since I've checked them out, so I'd be curious to see if they still hold up. So that's Hostel Part 2. And then after that we have Hostel Part 3. I've actually never seen this one. You know, obviously nothing to do with Eli Roth, and it was, you know, sort of just a cash-in sequel, but I have heard people say that it is kind of enjoyable. So for what it's worth, you know, it might be worth checking out. I'm obviously going to see it eventually. It's one that I've had a lot of interest to see, just based on curiosity, but I just never did. And that's usually the story with a lot of these films. I mean, I have these films that sit on my shelf for so long before I finally check them out. Oftentimes I put them off and I'm like, oh, that would be cool to watch that during a series of hood horror films, or that would be cool to discuss on the podcast, so I'll just wait till we do it on there. And then I end up, you know, it ends up not happening as fast as I thought. So that's kind of why I skip out on so many movies for so long, is just because I have plans for them and just, you know, so many plans and not enough time. So see you guys next time.